Welcome back to the Deeper Than Money podcast. I'm your host, Chloe Elise, and today we are going to do a little bit of dreaming. We're going to do a little bit of dreaming on the podcast today. And I think so often, especially across the financial industry in general, when it comes to finances, we tend to lean on the more logical, tangible side of finances. For example, if I'm interviewed for a podcast episode or an article or something, 99% of the time they're asking me like tangible or logical questions, right? Like, what are your three best ways to save that you would tell the readers? Or what is the best way to pay off debt or whatever? Those things aren't bad. Financial literacy, like knowing what to do, knowing the right strategy, knowing the resources that are out there, that is so important. That's a key part of getting ahead with money. But it's not the only part, right? And so often it's so heavily favored that it's easy to subconsciously, or maybe it's like that's like the voice inside your head, your parents told you this, whatever, to only think about the logistical part, right? Maybe when you're going to make a decision on what your next priority should be, maybe you're getting a bonus at work and you're like, where should this money go? Where should this money go? So you look at your, online statements and you're like, well, it has to go to credit card debt. It has to go to credit card debt, right? That's the most logical thing. But what that fails to do is it fails to, I just sneezed. Wow. Woof. Had to sneeze. It fails to recognize this other piece of it. And the piece of it that it fails to recognize is the deeper than money side of things, right? This is literally why this company is called Deeper Than Money, is because when I went on my finance journey, all these financial gurus or textbooks or whatever else I found, they were like, just save. Just stop spending money. Just do this. And I was like, but there's so much more than this. Why do I feel so much guilt around my spending? Why do I feel so much shame about where I'm at with money? Why am I so fearful of advocating for myself or talking about money? Why do I believe that debt is bad? Why, like all of those things. And no one in the financial industry I could find was talking about that. And so again, that's if you're new here, that's why this company is called Deeper Than Money, because we're going to give you the financial literacy side, we're going to give you the strategy, but we're also going to take time to understand the psychology behind money. We're going to take time to understand your beliefs around money, what you're taught to be true around money. We're going to touch on any trauma that you might have with money and all of these other things. And that's the Deeper Than Money side too. And so we have to talk about both. And so we're going to focus on the Deeper Than Money side. And one of the things within the Deeper Than Money side, one of the pillars, if you will, of the Deeper Than Money side of finance is dreaming. If you think of, if you're like an energy person, or if you're an energy person, and even if you're not, honestly, because this might be a little woo-woo for you, but when you think of energy and how the vibrations of different energy, that might sound a little woo-woo, and you might be like, Chloe, what are you talking about? But I promise, think of it like this, okay? Think of it like you're hungover, okay? When you're hungover and you're laying in bed and you're thinking, I would absolutely do anything in the world for an icy blue Gatorade right now. I would do anything for an icy blue Gatorade. You don't have Gatorade, but you're just so thirsty. And downstairs there's a vending machine. Downstairs in your apartment building, there's a vending machine. But the thought of getting out of bed and going all the way downstairs to get it sounds horrible, right? So think of like how that feels. Okay, it's like sluggish. Everything feels heavy. Everything feels difficult. Everything feels like the tiniest thing is going to take you forever to do and you don't want to do it. And you're just like, ugh, right? That feeling, okay? When I'm talking about operating at a low vibration, I want you to think of that feeling, okay? On the flip side, when I'm talking about operating at a high vibration and like high vibrational energy, I want you to think of like, you just had a great day at work. you just got great news. You like somebody just texts you amazing news. You just had your morning drink. Maybe that's like an Alani energy drink. Maybe it's a cup of coffee. Maybe it's just like pre-workout or water, whatever it is. And you're feeling good. You're on top of the world. It's Friday afternoon. You're about to go on vacation. You're like, let's roll, right? And you just turn on like your favorite song on the radio or on Spotify or whatever, and you're just belting it. You're just belting it. And you're like, man, if I could just feel this way every day, it's like 75 degrees out. You roll the windows down, you're like, this is living. And you just feel so much joy and excitement for life in your body. How does that feel? Okay, I want you to feel the hangover trying to do anything in your body. Like, think how that feels. Or like if you're like, I've never been hungover. Okay, like, good for you. Do you think you're better than me? No, I'm just kidding. But think of like maybe when you've been sick, or maybe when you just had a bad day or something. Okay, think of what that feels like. Just how everything feels heavy, everything feels slow, like just the energy around it is like and then think about the Friday afternoon getting off work when it's 75 degrees and you are cruising, right? And you're just like vibing. Feel the difference between those two. You can feel that just thinking about it. If you picture, what does that feel like? What is it? What am I thinking about? What does my body feel like? What does my brain feel like? Like, what does that feel like? You will be able to feel the energetic difference. Okay? Why does that matter? Right? Why does that matter? Because energy is important. Energy is important. If you've ever had one of those days, maybe like the Friday afternoon high vibration energy, but you have one of those days when you're like getting to work at 8 a.m. or starting your work day and you're so productive and like everything works and everything feels easy and everything feels amazing and you're like, this is so good, right? Likely it's not that like randomly every single task happened to go easy. It's that you are bringing this energy, this high vibrational energy into every single one of your tasks, which that momentum is rolling. That momentum is rolling. And vice versa, when you're already feeling like crap and you're feeling sluggish, and then you go to do anything, it's probably going to feel so hard, so heavy, so impossible. Okay? And the ball continues rolling. Okay? That is why, now we're going to take that and we're going to apply that with money. Okay? What is your energy around money? What is your energy around money? And a lot of times I see this with clients where, you know, they'll come in, let's say to Wealth Accelerator. Wealth Accelerator is our 12-week transformational group coaching program. It is like, if you're like, I want to transform my finances, Wealth Accelerator is for you. We'll put a link in the show notes where you can go check it out, learn more about it. But anyway, so people come into Wealth Accelerator, or maybe they'll, you know, have an application call and they'll be like, I just like, I know I need to get ahead with money. And I just feel like I have credit card debt and I'm like so embarrassed. And I'd be like, I can't get ahead and like all that. And you can literally hear their vibrational energy with money. It's a hangover vibe of like, and again, like we talked about how if you go into a task with that energy, a lot of times everything feels harder, everything feels heavier, everything feels like it's working against you. If that's your vibe with money, no wonder you maybe hate dealing with it. No wonder you maybe struggle with shame or with guilt. No wonder you don't like checking your bank account, or maybe you check it obsessively and feel like crap about yourself. Or maybe you like get a little bit ahead and then you go back into credit card debt and there's just so much negative energy around it. I would think it's really hard to get ahead with money too, right? Because then a lot of times you don't have that momentum to be like, and now all the good things about money, right? A lot of times you might be in a situation where you're like, the only time I feel joy with money is when I'm spending it. When I'm online shopping, when I, you know, just say screw it and go and spend, like that's the only time when money feels this like high vibrational energy, which it ends up being like low energy and then like a huge spike of like, yeah, I bought something amazing. And then it goes back to super low vibrations. What we want to do is take, and wherever you're vibration is with money on a scale of like hangover vibes to Friday after work with 75-degree weather vibes, I want you to think of like how money feels to you. Okay, like think about checking your bank account. Think about your credit card debt. Think about your student loans. Think about something with money. How does that feel in your body? Okay, compare it to hangover being 0, and then Friday after work, about to go on vacation, screaming your favorite music, being a 10. Where does money feel? Okay, name it, say it out loud. 3, 2, 1, say a number. Amazing. I'll pretend I heard it. And so what we want to do is we want to raise it one number. We want to raise it one number. If it's a 10, cool. Let's make it an 11. Let's make it an 11. If it's a 0, let's make it a 1. Okay, we're going to slowly raise that vibration with money. I will note in this episode, if you're enjoying this episode and you want to hear about it from a more logistical perspective, I have an episode called Raising Your Money Thermostat. I will link that episode in the show notes so you can check that out if you're like, okay, I'm raising it energetically, but how do I actually work on raising my, like, what's in my bank account, right? It's the more like logistical take on that. A good episode to follow up with, or to follow this one up with. Okay, anyway, so we're going to focus on raising our vibration with money. Because again, when we raise our vibration with money, it creates momentum, it attracts more good, it attracts more excitement. We feel more confident in tackling these things, and we also can get rid of some of that guilt and shame, which guilt and shame are the lowest vibrating emotion. They're like even below vibrating with like at the hangover level. They're like the absolute lowest level. So we want to vibrate a little higher. So here's the exercise we're going to do today. It's going to be super fun, and it's very simple. I do this all the time. I do it a lot when I'm driving. I actually, as much as I say, like, here's my philosophy. If it's over 3 hours, I'm flying. The only exception is when I drive back I'm from Iowa. I live in Kansas City. My hometown's in Iowa. So when I'm driving like back home and visiting family, that is close to like 4.5 hours. And I do that drive because there's no direct flights and it's not that bad. It's not that bad. However, anything over that, your girl is flying. But honestly, I really don't dislike driving that much by myself. Like I really do enjoy driving by myself, but I don't really like taking road trips. Although I don't know, maybe I do if the vibe's right. You know, if the vibe's right, I'm into it. But anyway, on drives, I like to just like dream up some stuff and really like check in. Okay, so this is one of the things that I'll do. Super simple. Okay, but I want, like, you gotta opt in. You gotta opt into this. Here's what I'll do. I'll be driving down the road and join in with me. I will think to myself, if I were given $1 million today, how would I want my life to change? How would I want my life to change? And I will think, what is the first thing I would do? What is the second thing I would do? What is the third thing I would do? What is the fourth thing I would do? And I'll walk through this, okay? As I'm walking through this, I will feel just like when I said, hey, think of a hangover and how that feels, or being sick. Think of that feeling when you're like getting off work and you're super excited. You can probably relate to those, right? In some capacity. You might have to like tweak a little bit to feel how you felt. But this one might be a new one, right? You might be like, Chloe, I'd love to relate, but I've never been given $1 million. Just imagine it, okay? Just picture it. Dream of it. You got to use your imagination here a little bit. I want you to think of as each thing, like maybe the first thing you're like, I'd have my credit card debt. Okay. How would that feel? How would that feel to snap your fingers and all your credit card debt is gone? How would that feel? How exciting, how liberating, how proud, like what are the feelings that would come up for you? And then, okay, credit card debt's now gone. You still have a lot more money. What's next? What's the next thing? You know, maybe paying off student loans, maybe saving up for a car, maybe giving money to your favorite charity, maybe helping your sibling get through college, maybe saving for a family vacation. Like, who knows? I don't know what it is. And I can't tell you because your dreams are likely very different than mine. Maybe they're similar and that's okay too. But like, don't base it on what you think anyone else would want you to do. I want you to think of what you would want to do. Okay? And just dream not just of the thing. I want you to think about how it would feel. Like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Maybe it would be relief. Maybe it would be excitement. But whatever those things are, I'm guessing they are high vibrational things. You start to feel like, oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. That feeling is so important. That feeling is so important. And here's what this exercise allows us to do. One, it allows us to, when we're, quote, like spending time with money, right? We're thinking about money, we're talking about money, whatever it is with money. It shouldn't always be a low vibrational thing. I would argue we don't ever want it to be a low vibrational thing, but we at least want to increase the vibration, right? And so think about it. Like, if you, every time you saw one of your friends, you instantly got in a bad mood. And like every time you saw them, they were just like, hey, you piece of shit. Like, you suck and you're dumb. And you're like, wow, every time I leave hang out with you, like, it sucks. Like, I don't like being around you. Would you want to keep being around them? No, probably not. And so if your relationship with money is so low vibe and such a buzzkill, of course there are probably some underlying things of like avoidance or putting things off or some subconscious guilt and shame or whatever else. That, of course you'd feel that, right? If like every interaction with money is so low vibe. So again, by increasing the vibe, if every once in a while your friend that's like, you suck, was like, hey, like, how's it going, buddy? Like, I bought you some ice cream. And you're like, thank you. If every once, like, still kind of a toxic friendship, but then all of a sudden that friend started to really change. And every time you're around them, you had a really great experience. And also I would argue that, let's say you're around this friend and the two of you get in an argument or you are upset about something and you sit down and have a very real conversation and you move through it and your friendship becomes stronger through it, right? It's not that like everything's rainbows and butterflies. It's like, no. Everything, because it's such a healthy relationship, you can have those conversations without it being toxic, right? So that's how we want to change our relationship with money into a better version, into a lighter version, into a higher vibrating version. That sounds so weird to say. Higher vibes. And what that will allow us to do is, again, it's not all rainbows and butterflies with money. That just means that when it's a higher vibe, even if it's like, oh shoot, I got a speeding ticket, it's like, that's okay. Let me look at my finances, figure out my game plan, move forward. There's no time for shame and guilt because we are vibing high with money, and then we move forward, right? So even when there's tough conversations, that doesn't mean it has to be incredibly low vibe. And again, this is something where you have to practice it. You have to practice it. You'll likely, let's say you said I'm a 2 when it comes to my vibration with money. And then you start thinking like, oh my gosh, you start dreaming about money, you start all this stuff, and it brings it to a 3, and then something happens and it knocks you back down to a 2. That's okay. That's okay. We just want to focus on getting back up to a 3, right? And a lot of times, one of the most fun and one of the most easy ways of raising your vibration is to dream. And again, you can do an exercise like we did today. You can go on Pinterest and look up dream vacations or dream life or whatever else. You can go drive through neighborhoods that you'd love to live in. You can, like, whatever it is that helps you dream of like, what do I want to do with money? What kind of life do I want to live? Okay. So that's how we're raising the vibe. And then one of the things I would also challenge you to do as a follow-up is to ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today in addition to raising my vibe? What is one thing I can do today that will get me closer to that life? Right? And now here's the thing. I'm not telling you like your life is going to suck until you get $1 million. I'm just saying, if you dreamt of those things and it improved your life, and the thought of like creating that dream lifestyle, right? Because let's be honest, money can help create a dream lifestyle. Like, let's be honest, money can't give us everything. Absolutely not. But it can help us in the pursuit of creating our dream life. So what in those things, when you start dreaming of like what $1 million today would be able to do for your life, what are things today that can get you closer? So like maybe in your dream, the first thing that you thought of was, oh my gosh, pay off my credit card debt. But flash back to right now, and you're not really focusing on paying off your credit card debt, right? Because maybe you're focusing on, I don't know, student loans, or maybe you just haven't really been focusing on it at all. You've just kind of been like, out of sight, out of mind. I don't even want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. And so, hey, maybe today what you can do is sit down and call your credit card company and negotiate your credit card interest rate. Again, Negotiation Playbook has a script. You can go check it out. Maybe it is looking into a balance transfer for that credit card and seeing what options would be out there. Maybe it is making sure, hey, since I have credit card debt, I'm not going to spend on that credit card this month, just so it's easier when I make a payment, it actually makes a dent instead of making a payment and it only pays off what I spent on it, right? So just in like the short term, I'm all for like healthy credit card use, but sometimes when we're spending on it and paying it off, it can feel really like you're working against yourself. You're working against yourself. So that could be an option. Or sitting down and creating a plan for how can I pay this off, and how can I pay it off by X, this date. All of those things, right? Like that is a really amazing set. But here's the key. Once we come back to today, where potentially you haven't gotten $1 million at the snap of my fingers, I wish I could do that. I'd be like, snap, 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 snap. All of you. All of you. But if you haven't gotten $1 million at the snap of a hat, and then you start saying, okay, what's one thing I could do to get closer to that dream of those things happening? One thing you might experience is all of a sudden your vibe's lower. Like, okay, well, I can move one step closer, but this sucks. So as you're doing that, I want you to make sure that the vibrational energy behind getting one step closer to those goals is stuck in the excitement of how it would feel to have them done, and not stuck in how it might feel today to be, where you're at with money, or like the vibe you're normally at. And it's something you have to practice for sure, right? It's something you have to practice. And so I want you to, as you come back and say, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm actually gonna look at my credit card debt and figure out what's going on there. And it might feel like, ugh, I want you to equally imagine and be like, but do you know why I'm doing this? Because I cannot wait to, roll the windows down and scream, I have paid off all my credit card debt. I cannot wait to feel that excitement of knowing that is gone. I cannot wait, right? Like stay in that energy of excitement as you come back and go into those goals. And again, it'll take practice. But as we continue to do the strategic things, do the, the logic, all of that, we have to equally focus and look at the deeper the money side of things, right? Because sure, yeah, go pay off your credit card debt. But if you're feeling guilt and shame along the way, and again, I could make a whole nother podcast episode about that. But if you're feeling guilt and shame on the way on that journey, that's not fun. I don't want you to just like feel guilty and feel shame around money until someday you're debt free and it magically disappears. First of all, that sucks. Let's say you're debt free in a year. You're just going to spend the next year filled with guilt and shame. Trash. Absolutely not. And the second thing is, guess what? A lot of times, once that magical thing happens, it's supposed to take away the guilt and shame, you still feel guilt and shame, right? That thing doesn't fix it. And then you're like, wait, what's wrong with me? Oh, I must have to hit the next milestone. And so again, it's like we have to be focusing on enjoying our lives now. Sure, we can have dreams and want to work toward them and want to change things or improve things or move this way or whatever else. And that's amazing. But that doesn't mean we have to be in this low vibe around money, right? We can do both. We can work on the strategics. We can also raise the vibe, and we can enjoy the process now, because excitement and joy and gratitude are so high vibe. And I'm not kidding. Not only will raising your vibe around money help you get ahead with the strategics, it will also help you focus on the enjoyment of the process, right? My dad, his favorite quote that he's always told me is, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. It's the journey, not the destination. And it's so important when it comes to money, because there's always going to be another money goal. There's always going to be another milestone that you want to hit with your finances. you have to enjoy all the process along the way, right? Especially when you're young and having fun. Like, this is the time to be super high vibe about all things money and finance. And this is one of my favorite exercises to do it. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Deeper Than Money podcast, and I will see you back next week. Bye, everybody.